All right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate you coming out this evening for this evening's press briefing for the Refugio oil spill. Presenting information today, we have members of the Unified Command. And with us today is going to be Captain Jennifer Williams, the incident commander for the response, as well as the Federal On-Scene Coordinator. Michelle Rogo, U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. She's also a Federal On-Scene Coordinator. Eric Gelstrom from State Park Superintendent. Moda Bonti, the California Governor's Office of Emergency Services. Mark Crossland from Department of Fish and Wildlife, Office of Spill Prevention. Greg Armstrong, Chairman and CEO, Plains All-American Pipeline, as well as Tashaki Michael Wada from Santa Barbara County Public Health. As we begin through this, I'm going to have every member of the Unified Command is going to step up, make a brief statement to be able to fill through that. As soon as we've finished, we'll be able to go through get some questions. We do ask that you do ask one question, one follow-up question, to give everybody the opportunity to ask something. As soon as that's finished, we will be able to open up the floor for additional questions. Because of the operations, we will be able to have to limit this to 30 minutes. So anything after that 30 minutes, myself and my staff will be able to here to assist you as best we can. So with that, I'd like to welcome to the podium is Captain Williams.
Thank you, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Captain Jennifer Williams. I'm the Incident Commander and Federal On-Scene Coordinator for the oil spill response. Over the past 24 hours, more than 300 federal, state, and local first responders and numerous environmental cleanup contractors arrived on scene and are actively assessing, booming, and removing oil from the affected areas. Tomorrow, you should see and expect even more responders on the beach. As the impact of this incident continues to unfold, we want to make sure that the public understands the direction we're headed as a response agency. We understand that residents of Santa Barbara are seeing the effects of the spilled oil and hazardous materials, and we're actively working towards the cleanup and response. The care and safety of everyone affected remains our top priority in our response. We urge the public to stay out of the affected areas that have been closed for the response. These sensitive areas have been closed because of health hazards, the health hazards of the crude oil in the water. Specific protective equipment needs to be worn by trained professionals to work with oil. We're dedicating ourselves to efficiently deploy the best assets available and working with our emergency response partners at the federal, state, and local levels to improve the conditions throughout the region. Our priorities during the response are to ensure the safety of the public, mitigate the impact of the spilled substance on the environment and wildlife, and the waterways and the beaches. One of the first steps is making the area safe to minimize the impacts in the maritime environment and protecting the affected wildlife. Our next priority as a unified command is to continue cleaning the shoreline and the water in the affected areas. Again, we are working diligently to minimize the impacts of this spill on the community and the environment. We'd ask the community to steer clear of areas impacted by the spill and report any impacted wildlife to the Wildlife Reporting Hotline. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Michelle Rogo, and I'm from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, and I share the responsibility of the Joint Command on the federal level with Captain Williams, who so eloquently described our objectives and what we're working towards here at this response. Today, we continue to work with the agencies who are doing the investigation on the pipeline and the break itself. Our hope is that tomorrow that work will move forward and we'll be able to have at least a little bit more information as the pipeline is uncovered. That work the investigation work will likely go on for some time, so we may not have all the answers that you're looking for right now, but we are diligently working with the agencies who regulate the pipeline as well as with the pipeline company to make sure that some of those answers are obtained. In addition, we've been working to assess the areas from the spill site to the railroad tracks and beyond, and determine where oil is and where it needs to be addressed. And tonight, we hope that a plan will be in place with additional resources to do work in the upland areas onshore to continue to remove oil from the areas beneath the spill site. And tomorrow, we hope that we'll implement a plan to go to get into the culvert and oil that has been washed down, and begin to mitigate the areas that are up gradient of the shoreline to ensure that no more oil heads onto the beaches here. We thank the public for their cooperation. We realize that it's an inconvenience, and we know that people's plans, especially over this weekend and next weekend, are going to be impacted by these activities. But we feel that it's really important to continue to work together to make sure that we can address this spill and its effects as soon as possible. Thanks so much.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Mark Crossland. I'm a captain with the Department of Fish and Wildlife, Office of Spill Prevention and Response. The California Department of Fish and Wildlife is working very closely with the Coast Guard, EPA, local, and other state agencies, and we're all working to ensure that everything possible is being done to clean up this spill. We have response crews out now combing the beaches, looking for affected wildlife. We plan on adding additional crews tomorrow on Thursday. We will not have a total oiled wildlife number until all crews are back from the field. As mentioned earlier, the state of California works with the Oiled Wildlife Care Network to rescue and care for oiled wildlife during oil spills. At this time, the public is asked not to try to rescue oiled injured wildlife, but instead, please call and report those sightings to the Oiled Wildlife Care Network at 877-823-6926. We've also set up a volunteer hotline. It's just currently been activated. That number is 1-800-228-4544. The Unified Command is standing up a volunteer unit to explore how volunteers from the public can be utilized safely in the response. Cal Volunteers, United Way Santa Barbara, and Channel Keepers included a link to Cal Spill Watch on their websites. In addition, the Unified Command approved the use of the California Conservation Corps, and a crew from Camarillo, California, has WOPR trained. In other words, they're able to respond and work within the oiled environment, and they will be deployed this afternoon to assist in cleanup efforts. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Eric Gelstrom. I'm a sector superintendent with California State Parks. Refugio and El Capitan State Beach are areas within my responsibility. Today, as a result of the continued flow of the oil to the south and east of Refugio, the decision was made to extend our closure to El Capitan State Beach. The department is in the process of notifying all of our reservation holders to let them know of this closure. At this point, that closure is until next Thursday. As we go through this weekend and evaluate the status of the cleanup, we'll be reassessing and determining if we need to extend that. And our goal will be to get the park back open as soon as we can. For now, our top priority is the safety of our visitors and our neighbors in the community, as well as our natural and cultural resources, and we're going to continue to support our partners in getting this spill cleaned up as soon as possible. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mona Bonte. I'm with the Governor's Office of Emergency Services, and I serve as a Southern Regional Administrator. On behalf of our Director, Mark Gilladucci, we want to share our commitment to working with our federal, state, and local partners to ensure a timely response to this incident. We have activated our State Operations Center in Sacramento, as well as our Southern Region Emergency Operations Center. We also have deployed staff to work closely with Unified Command here. We are committed to provide any resource needs and ensure a timely response. and share the concerns of the community that we are here and available and communicating with the governor on any needs. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Greg Armstrong, Chairman and CEO of Plains All-American Pipeline. I want to read a brief statement with respect to describing the situation. Yesterday, on May 19th, Plains became aware of a crude oil release from its 24-inch pipeline from Las Flores to Gaviota, which is located in Santa Barbara County. The released crude reached a culvert that leads to the Pacific Ocean and as a result has impacted ocean water and the shoreline. To recap our initial response, Plains shut down the flow of oil in the pipeline, initiated its emergency response plan, and blocked the culvert so that no additional oil is reaching the water. Plains continues to work with local officials and first responders to respond to this incident through a coordinated, unified command structure. I have several comments that I would like to share. First is that you should know that we deeply, deeply regret that this incident has occurred at all. We apologize for the damage that is done to the wildlife and to the environment, and we're very sorry for the disruption and inconvenience that is caused on the citizens and the visitors to this area. Second, our top priorities are also to protect the safety of all involved in this response, reduce the damage to the environment, and return the site to normal. Third, we're fully committed to this response effort. We will remain here until everything has been restored to normal. We just obtained approval to expand our cleanup operations to a 24/7 operation and are initiating nighttime operations and doubling our response personnel. Fourth, I want to thank all the members of the Unified Command and the community that are working together to respond to this unfortunate incident. As I noted, there are several, but I want to mention specifically the United States Coast Guard, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, California Office of Emergency Services, California Department of Fish and Wildlife's Office of Spill Prevention, and the Santa Barbara Office in Emergency Management. They have mounted a very, very impressive response, and we are greatly appreciative. Finally, I just want to again say that we regret this incident and apologize to the residents and visitors of the area for the inconveniences caused, especially on this Memorial Day weekend. Before I finish here, I want to note that we have established a website that is constantly being updated with the latest information on the response efforts. That website is www.refugioresponse.com. If you have questions, you can make direct inquiries on that site. We have also established a financial claims line if you feel like you've been impacted by this spill response, or the response spill, excuse me. The number is 866-753-3619. Again, that is 866-753-3619. With that, I actually want to turn it over just for a few comments from Rick McMichael, who is our Director of Pipeline Operations, to give you some information we have on the volume. I emphasize it's very preliminary at this point in time. As we say, we have not yet uncovered the pipeline, and also to give you a few comments on the timeline. So Rick McMichael.
Thank you, Greg. Just for background, I'd like to remind you that our investigation is still very early. And also for background, the line flows at 1,300 barrels an hour. A little on the timeline, at 10:45 a.m. Tuesday morning, we experienced some mechanical issues at our Las Flores pump station on line 901 to Gaviota, causing the pipeline to shut down. We restarted the pumps at 10:55 a.m. Pacific time, but we're still having trouble with our pumping units. The pump at our Sisquoc station went down at 11:15 a.m. and our operator in our control center shut the pipeline down at 11:30 a.m. At 12:30 p.m., we received a call from a local first responder reporting an odor in the area. We immediately dispatched a Plains employee to the pipeline to make a visual inspection, and he confirmed the release at 1:30 p.m. With regard to the volume, Based upon the information we have regarding the pipeline flow rate and the elevation profile in the area, we estimate a worst-case scenario of up to 2,500 barrels or 105,000 gallons of crude. Again, that is a worst-case scenario. Additionally, we currently estimate a portion of that, or near 500 barrels, which is approximately 21,000 gallons of that 105,000 gallons, may have migrated to the water. Again, this investigation and this estimate is still under investigation. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Dr. Takashi Wada, spelled Takashi, last name Wada, Wada. I'm the director of the Santa Barbara County Public Health Department. Our role is to ensure the safety of the public's health, along with the other response entities. At this time, we are not aware of any individuals that have required medical attention due to the oil spill. There were a few individuals yesterday at Refugio Beach that experienced mild symptoms due to the odors, headaches, eye, nose, and throat irritation, but again, no one required medical care to our knowledge. However, we continue to recommend avoidance of the affected areas as exposure to oil and/or its fumes can result in health impacts. In these types of incidents, there are 3 potential exposures that we're concerned about. 1, direct contact with the skin, which can cause skin irritation. 2, inhalation of the fumes, breathing them in for extended periods can cause headaches, dizziness, nausea, eye, nose, and throat irritation, respiratory difficulties, particularly in sensitive individuals. And 3, ingestion of contaminated fish and seafood can cause illness. One of the response entities is conducting water and 24-hour air testing in the affected and surrounding areas, and a public health work group composed of health experts, toxicologists, and hazardous materials specialists within the County Emergency Operations Center reviews this data. Although there continue to be some petroleum-related odors in the vicinity of the spill, this is to be expected, and simply smelling an odor does not mean that one will experience adverse health effects. These low-level fumes are generally harmless, but can cause some mild symptoms as discussed previously, such as headaches or dizziness. We have not had any testing results indicating concerning levels of oil-related harmful substances in the air that could cause more significant health impacts. For example, substances such as benzene, hydrogen sulfide, and volatile organic compounds. We will continue our testing and monitor this data as the response progresses. In terms of further beach closures due to potential health risks, this is also something that we continue to monitor along with the partner agencies. Decisions to close a beach are based on many factors. Some are more objective, such as visual information that there is oil in the water or on the shoreline. There is also data that we monitor related to water and air quality, as previously mentioned. There are also subjective factors, such as the strength of any petroleum odors. Decisions related to beach closures are made at the policy level within the unified command structure at the County Emergency Operations Center. We continue to monitor surrounding beaches, particularly those to the south, as this is the direction that the spill is progressing. The City of Goleta has had a presence in the EOC throughout the incidents and would certainly be involved in any decisions related to Goleta beaches and potential health effects. Thank you very much.
Thank you again. Now I'll open up for any questions that anybody may have. We do ask that everybody ask if one question, one follow-up question. Once everybody has had an opportunity to ask, we'll be able to open up for additional questions after that. With that as well, when we do have a question, can you please introduce yourself and the outlet that you represent, and then we'll be able to answer your question. Yes, sir.
Alex Stone with ABC News. If folks from Plains can talk about the problems on the line before the spill, you were talking about the pumps being shut down and whatnot. Did I understand that correctly, that the pumps had been shut down before this happened?
That's correct. They were shut down, some of the pumps, for a couple of times due to some mechanical issues, and we had mechanics working on the line at that time on those pumps.
Do you think that's all, sorry to interrupt you, at all related to what happened? Could that be a cause, whatever was going on there, to what happened?
I think our investigation will reveal if that was a cause, but that's still underway, so I really can't say at this time.
Jason Orr, KSBY, I got another question for you. What do you do to try to prevent this kind of thing from happening on your pipeline?
Certainly, we'll be doing a complete review of all of our operations. Our focus right now is primarily on making sure we protect the safety of everybody that's involved in the cleanup, preventing further damage to the environment, and returning the situation to normal. We certainly have time offline to talk about all the things that we do to run a safe operation. This particular pipe, I do not believe, has had any prior incidents since it was constructed in 1987.
Striker from CBS News, complains. In 2010, the Environmental Protection Agency and the Department of Justice reached an agreement with your company to upgrade about 10,000 miles of pipeline at a cost of $41 million. Was this particular pipeline part of that upgrade?
No, ma'am, it was not. I would again point out our primary focus right now, and I appreciate those questions, is really to focus in on this particular incident and try to make sure that we return the situation to normal as quickly as possible. But the answer to your question is no.
Following up is that 2 weeks ago, we understand from the state that there was an inspection of this pipeline, and the report was in the process of being written on. Can you tell us about some of the preliminary findings?
That process is a very extensive process, and I do not believe we have gotten any of the results back. It usually takes a couple of months after that. It's a very intense prospect, but it was just recently inspected. I think normally the mandated inspection cycles are 5 years. We actually run ours on a 3-year basis, so it had a complete inspection in 2012. It just had another one, but it just happened before we got the information back. Thank you.
Chris Wolf, KTLA 5 News out of Los Angeles. Can anyone speak more about the impact on wildlife and whether oil-covered birds and wildlife are being treated anyway?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Unfortunately, I don't have any numbers of impacted wildlife at this time, but undoubtedly there's been impacts, and we'll continue to monitor it closely, and hopefully in the coming days we'll have some accurate numbers, and more importantly, we'll get on the restoration effort and return what oiled animals we have collected, and hopefully release them back to the wild at some point. That will be our goal.
And to follow up, where are those animals that have been collected? What facilities are taking care?
Well, the Old Wildlife Care Network, as I mentioned earlier, will be the primary source for all of the animals that we collect, and birds and such. And we have a tremendous outpouring of people that are extremely skilled at storing these animals. So I'm very confident that we'll get on it as soon as we can and restore these animals and release them back to the wild. Thank you.
Sanchez from Newstown 3 in Santa Barbara. This question's for the CEO. What can you tell our community members that are now dealing with not only the oil that's on the beaches and on the land, but the smell? What can you tell our residents about what you're doing and how you're feeling about the fact that we have thousands of barrels of oil that could be in our area here?
Well, we don't feel very good at all about it. I mean, again, we deeply regret that it's caused the inconvenience. We regret that there was an incident at all. What I can tell you is that we're doing everything that we possibly can at this point in time, including just getting permission to go 24/7. You'll see light plants out there tonight, I believe. We'll have hundreds of people on the beaches in white suits. You'll be able to identify them very quickly, committed to returning it to normal as absolutely fast as we possibly can. And we really appreciate working with the Unified Command. The Operations Emergency Center that we're looking at is extremely impressive. The only thing that's depressing about it is that it's having to focus in on something that had to do with planes, but I can assure you we are here to make it right.
And a follow-up question, where did you come from today to travel here?
I left Houston early this morning, got here probably about 12, something like that, just as soon as I could get here, ma'am.
Javier Pancho, the LA Times. Can you tell us how long the oil was pumping for until before it was stopped? Once from the leak until it was stopped?
The pump was shut down at 11:30. The release was not discovered. The smell was reported at 12:30. So it was actually shut down before the release was discovered.
So it could have been leaking as early as when?
Well, again, we saw situations normal, I think, up until about 11 o'clock, and then it was during those mechanical operations that they noticed that there was a pressure anomaly, and at that point in time, they shut the pipeline down.
The pressure anomaly was noticed at what point?
Roughly around right around 11 o'clock, I believe.
A follow-up to the wildlife question over at KTLA. I'm Brittany Hopper with CBS Los Angeles. I know you had mentioned that crews are out right now, kind of rounding up. Will we have a number this evening, later tonight, before our newscasts at 10 and 11? Is that possible to get some kind of estimated number of the injured or possibly dead?
It's possible we'll be getting the information back, but it's unlikely that I'd be able to release anything probably until tomorrow's press conference.
And at this point, it's 9 miles, I don't think this is a question for you, but it's 9 miles south, east? Is that what the number that we're using is 9 miles? It has traveled 9 miles south, east, the actual, and is it continuing to travel?
Yes, ma'am. The oil slick that's out there, it's traveled in several directions. It's not a perfect square. It's not a perfect triangle, but it's about 9 square miles of oil that's impacted the waterways, and it will continue to disperse over time and spread out due to the winds and currents. It's basically we're at the with the winds shifting, that may help or not help. It depends if it pushes it offshore or onshore, that sort of thing.
Back to the pipeline, does the pump being shut off equate with the pipeline being shut off, or is that a separate process?
Shutting down the pump on the pipeline stops the flow through the pipeline.
So, follow-up, was there any additional effort then to, say, physically shut off the pipeline, or is that it?
Yes, after the pipeline was shut down, the closest block valves or valves on the pipeline were closed as soon as possible.
Is that at 11:30?
That was after 11:30.
Sorry, can you say when?
Let me see.
We can provide that information.
We'll provide that later. I don't know if I have that now.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming out this evening. We will provide further updates through our website and through additional press briefings. I do appreciate you guys coming out here and spending your time with us this evening. Thank you.